Tonight, federal government to begin evacuation of stranded Nigerians in Ukraine on Wednesday as fresh fighting forces residents of Kiev back into shelters. Ahead of the vote on the Constitution Amendment by the National Assembly, Nigerian Labour Congress protests in Abuja, demands autonomy of the judiciary and local government. Court dismisses suits challenging defection of Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi to APC from PDP, says the defendant has not violated the provisions of the Constitution. And Ukrainian president signs an official request for Ukraine to join the European Union immediately. Peace talks to continue in coming days. We have more from our London studio in Around the World in 5.
On business news tonight, OPEC Secretary General says a delicate balancing act is needed to ensure affordable energy and reduce carbon emissions.
On sports news tonight, FIFA and UEFA jointly suspend Russia from the 2022 World Cup and its teams suspended from all international football competitions until further notice after its invasion of Ukraine.
And from Abuja, Federal High Court declines granting bail to suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, says application has been overtaken by events.
We begin from outside the country in Ukraine, where there are reports of a Russian strike on the outskirts of the capital, Kiev, as air raid sirens rend the air. The Ukrainian Interior Minister says more civilians have been killed today by Russian missile strikes in Kharkiv. Meanwhile, talks between Russia and Ukraine near Belarus, which started today, are expected to continue over the next few days.
Cities across Ukraine remain on high alert on the 5th day of Russia's invasion as ceasefire talks begin in Belarus. Ukraine's military said that Russian troops had made repeated attempts to storm the outskirts of the capital Kyiv overnight, but had failed to capture it. Kyiv has lifted its curfew after 2 days, with some food shops open and public transport running, but people are still advised to shelter and not go outside unless necessary. The major cities of Kharkiv and Chernihiv were also targeted overnight. Fighting also continues in the strategically important port city of Mariupol in the south, on the Sea of Azov near Russia-annexed Crimea. But Ukraine's military claims the pace of Russia's assault has slowed and that Moscow has suffered heavy losses. Russia's defense ministry, however, claims that it's taken full control of Europe's largest nuclear power plant in the south of Ukraine. Ukraine has denied the report. On Sunday, President Vladimir Putin put Russia's nuclear deterrent on high alert, further raising the stakes amid his military assault on Ukraine. The UK's Defence Secretary says Russia could indiscriminately bomb cities as frustration with the campaign grows.
I think by entering this into the conversation yesterday, he did two things. He reminded everyone he's got nuclear weapons, which, as you say, starts to set off people being worried. But secondly, he distracted from what's going wrong in Ukraine.
Ukraine's health ministry says civilian death toll now stands at 352 people, including 14 children. Over 400,000 Ukrainian civilians have fled the country into neighboring Poland and Romania. Western nations responded to the onslaught with an unprecedented array of sanctions on Russia's economy. During early trading today, the Russian currency plunged nearly 30% to an all-time low against the dollar. The EU on Sunday also shot all Russian planes out of its airspace.
Meanwhile, some Nigerians stranded in Ukraine have been speaking about their ordeal. Eniola Badijo is a student whose education has been suspended, while Sapuru Elezu was able to leave and has arrived in Poland. Both of them spoke on their situation on our special coverage of the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
It is very terrible right now because people have been there for days, and it's currently -2 in Lviv, and it's snowing right now. So people have been outside without shelter, without food, without water. And I even have a friend who had angina 2 days ago, and he has not still gotten into the border. So the problem is the Ukrainian border, the Ukrainian guards at the border, they are not letting male foreigners pass through. And if you can't get past the Ukrainian border, you can't even access the transit countries. So that's the problem right now.
Well, a curfew, from the reports we have, a curfew is supposed to have been lifted this morning, making movement a bit easier. Is that true? Have people been able to go out and see what's happening for themselves and probably explore options of getting across to the border? Because we are told that once you get to the border, there's help waiting on the other side.
So the thing is, people, it's a very long distance. It's about, some people walk for about 24 kilometers. So we can't walk there without getting sure. So people at the border currently are the ones giving us information.
And what are they telling you? People at the border, what are they telling you?
So there's a long queue, and the Ukrainians are not letting male foreigners get through. And if we can't get past the Ukrainian border, we can't even access the Polish or Hungarian or Slovakian borders.
You got into Poland this morning, I'm told. Is that correct?
Yeah, I got here by 12 a.m.
That must have been quite the trip, because we're speaking to another Nigerian who is still in the Ukraine earlier. She's actually in Lviv, and she was talking about the difficulties and the fact that information wasn't flowing and all of that. How much of help did you get from the Nigerian embassy in Kyiv to make this movement? And how much of help did you get from the Nigerian authorities at the Polish end in order to facilitate your movement?
Well, I'll just say the truth, like no help at all. So that's just the truth. Because
at both ends?
Giving some numbers. Yes, at both ends. But then I would explain why. Because, like I said, I've been in Ukraine for 11 years. So my friend took me across the border. So we went to a very new border, because like, there are new borders that are open, right? So I don't even think most of these Nigerians know about it. So like, it was a border that was open, I think, 4 days ago, or even 2 days ago, or something like that. So I had to get the recent and the latest information and then go through that border. So while going through that border, I didn't meet any Nigerian official there. There was no help from any Nigerian official there. Maybe it's because the border is very new, it was just really recently opened. It's basically like a garage. It's a garage in Poland, But
what's the name of that border? What's the name of that border? Because some of your colleagues who are still in Ukraine may want to use it.
Okay, I have to check. I have to check it right now, because it's I just wanted to cross, and then my friend told me there's a good border, and then I was just going really fast. I would have to just get the name right now. It's some Russia, something like this. Wait, in Ukrainian it's called Brushi.
Brushi. Okay.
And some cheering news for Nigerians stranded in Ukraine, as the federal government has given the assurance to begin their evacuation on Wednesday, March the 2nd. This is according to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jeffrey Onyema, who was speaking during a meeting with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila. He says the evacuation follows the approval of President Muhammadu Buhari.
We had to also see with Mr. President very quickly. Last week I went, saw him with the Chief of Staff, and he approved that we should go ahead with an airlift. And so we negotiated with their piece. So we have tentatively fixed for Wednesday, The idea is Romania is going to be the hub, and there are about 1,000 already that we're estimating to pick up from Romania. And then you have Slovakia, about 200, Poland also about 250, and Hungary, the same figure. There are about 150 going into wanting to go through Russia that we have asked students, our ambassadors, to try and get transit permits for. Some of them don't want to come back to the country, but the point is also that we've given a commitment to these transit countries that have given us timelines for the refugees to stay in their countries, you know, and so we also have an obligation to ensure that within that timeline that they come back.
I think we need to have a setup by law or by ingrained in the foreign affairs policy, and that will have to do with you if we can work together, where we're in a state of readiness at any point in time, where we need to evacuate our citizens, because it's happened one time too many. It happened in South Africa, it happened in where we had to even lean on a private citizen to, quote and unquote, for want of a better word, loan us or borrow us his plane. I think if we can at this time urge the executive to come forth with some kind of supplementary budget.
Well, staying with the Russian invasion, some Nigerians today staged a protest in front of the Russian embassy in Abuja over the attack on Ukraine by Russian troops. Done in T-shirts with inscription, "Stop the War," the protesters chanted songs and displayed placards to express their grievances and concerns about the safety of Nigerians, saying they want peace to return to Ukraine. They also want the federal government to take steps to ensure safe return of Nigerians from the troubled country. Away from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress today led a protest to the National Assembly in Abuja to demand overwhelming votes from the federal lawmakers as the National Assembly prepares to commence clause-by-clause voting on the ongoing constitution amendment process. The Labour leaders are specifically asking the federal lawmakers to vote for the autonomy of local government and judiciary as plenary voting on the constitution amendment bills begins tomorrow, March the 1st. The autonomy of the judiciary and that of the local government, among other national issues, are the critical alterations that the federal lawmakers will vote on.
Members of the Nigeria Labour Congress gather at the National Secretariat of the NLC in Abuja for a protest to the National Assembly ahead of the proposed plenary voting on the Constitution Amendment bills before the federal lawmakers.
Backward! Never! Backward! Never!
The Labour leaders highlight their interest in the proposed Constitution Amendment, asking the federal lawmakers to vote overwhelmingly in their favour.
On this day, we demand that members of the National Assembly that will be voting on the alteration of the Constitution, we are happy with what they have done to guarantee the autonomy, full autonomy of our local governments, of the judiciary and the parliament. Our judiciary are meant to be independent. Why should judicial officers be running cap in hand to be begging from state governors what they need to actually drive the process of dispensing justice?
I think enough is enough, just like the Gen-Sec has said. Nigeria belongs to all of us, not to some few people. It is high time that the Nigerian workers will rise up to the occasion and say no. Because this country is governed by, we have a constitution that is, at least we're governed by, and it must be adhered to.
Their destination is the National Assembly, where security operatives barricade the entrance. For over an hour, the protesters occupied the entrance of the National Assembly, waving flags and chanting solidarity songs. The Labour leaders vow the protest will not end at the gate of the National Assembly.
The first leg is here. We are going to the house of every member of the State Assembly because we are aware that from what we have gathered, we are going to have a majority
to support actually this autonomy at the National Assembly. The challenge has been actually at the states.
The autonomy of the judiciary and the local government are some of the critical provisions in the constitution amendment process that federal lawmakers are expected to vote on. And for the Labour leaders, they want an overwhelming yes in favor of these provisions.
In part two, after the break, National Association of Nigerian Students protests ongoing strike by university lecturers, meets with Minister of Education on the need for a resolution to the dispute. That's after the break. Stay with us. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government to begin evacuation of stranded Nigerians in Ukraine on Wednesday as fresh fighting forces residents of Kiev back into shelters. Ahead of the vote on the Constitution amendment by the National Assembly, Nigerian Labour Congress protests in Abuja demands autonomy of the judiciary and local government. Court dismisses suit challenging defection of Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi to the APC from the PDP, says he has not violated the provisions of the Constitution. And Ukrainian president signs an official request for Ukraine to join the European Union immediately. It's indeed been a day of protest here in Nigeria, with students under the aegis of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, demanding an end to the ongoing one-month warning strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. In the nation's capital, Abuja, the protest was led by the national president of NANS, Sunday Ashefon, who has given the federal government and ASU until tomorrow, March the 1st, to resolve their differences and end the industrial action. However, a meeting between the leadership of NANS and the Minister of Education, Mr. Adamu Adamu, in Abuja, could not stop the strike following a lack of agreement between the two. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Forced out of school, Nigerian students gather at the Unity Fountain in the nation's capital for a peaceful protest. For 2 weeks, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has been on strike, and academic activities in public universities have been grounded.
We want to go back to school.
It's the second strike by ASU in less than 2 years, and the students are worried about the effect of the industrial action on their future.
We want ASU and federal government to find an equilibrium to resolve this crisis.
From the Unity Fountain, the protesters moved through the streets of Abuja, accompanied by security operatives. The protesters arrived at the National Assembly, but they are intercepted by security operatives manning the gate. The situation is the same at the Federal Ministry of Education, as security operatives prevent the protesters from gaining access into the complex. However, some leaders of NANS are granted audience by the Minister of Education, Mr. Adamu Adamu.
Honorable Minister, sir, we saw it on social media. You celebrated your son who graduated in a country, a university outside this country. We appreciate that. Our parents also have that money to send us outside the country. But we are in this country, then we should enjoy what we are paying for. So we want an adequate funding of education in this country. Honorable Minister, our message is we want to go back to class.
Instead of coming here, you should have addressed your lecturers there. Perhaps the only point that you made that is worthy of even attention is you said students should be involved in this, and I think probably this is a very good thing.
Thank you, sir.
And it is the only thing I'm going to take out of what you have said here. Thank you very much.
The response of the minister angers the students. Outside Abuja, a similar protest held in Plateau, Taraba, Ekiti, and Oyo states. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
For more on the news at 10, let's cross over to our Abuja studio where Gloria Mezoke is standing by. Hi, Gloria.
Hello, Coyote. We turn attention to the judiciary. Justice Iyan Ekwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has declined granting the bail application of suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, DCP Abba Kyari. In a ruling, the judge said the application had been overtaken by events following an order of a sister court granting the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency's prayers to detain Kyari for another 14 days to enable it to conclude its investigation. Justice Ekwo held that the sister court, which gave the order in favor of NDLEA on February 22, was a court of coordinate jurisdiction. The judge, however, said he was inclined to hear Kyari's fundamental enforcement rights suit with the urgency it deserves after the expiration of the 14-day court order. He subsequently adjourned until March 15 to hear his application on his fundamental right enforcement. Well, in Ebonyi, the State High Court sitting in Abakaliki has dismissed the suits challenging the defection of Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi State from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to the All Progressives Congress, APC. Delivering his judgment, the presiding judge, Justice Henry Njoku, stated that relying on the provisions of Section 188, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the defendant, Governor David Umahi, has not violated any provision of the Constitution or the Electoral Act in his defection to APC. The court therefore dismissed in its entirety the suit filed by the plaintiff for lacking in merit and awarded 500,000 naira as damages against the plaintiff. Away from the courts, the signing of the amended Electoral Act signals a new era for Nigeria's democratic process. That is according to the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, who was speaking during the flag-off of the 10th flyover by his administration, this time in Obiopo Council. The special guest and governor of Bauchi State, Mr. Bala Mohammed, showered encomiums on Governor Wike, whom he described as the new face of leadership. Earlier on, the governor signed a memorandum of understanding with the construction company handling the project.
Providing critical infrastructure no doubt seems to be Governor Nyesom Wike's priority in delivering good governance to the people of Rivers State. Pursuing this agenda, the governor is kickstarting a new phase of infrastructure project delivery with the flag-off of the construction of his 10th flyover in what his administration describes as an unprecedented level of achievement.
Upon completion, this project will offer to the people who live and travel through these parts for decades to come all the usual benefits that such projects bring to people. And in my own personal estimation, I do believe that this project will be a pivotal point, or to play a pivotal role in the rapid development of real estate to the north, due north of the bridge. This and many other things will be the benefits our people will see from the day it's completed and for many years thereafter.
In the state for the flag-off exercise is his colleague, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, who describes Governor Wike as a new face of leadership in Nigeria.
He has raised the bar of subnational leadership in this country. We are very proud to be associated with him. Some of his templates that have really been implemented, some of them that you can touch them in terms of improving the quality of life of our people. We are copying from him because we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
For Governor Wike, all that matters is the fulfillment of promises made to the electorate, something he believes must count in 2023 general elections.
This electoral act that they say the president has appended his signature. The good thing there now is Operation Show What You Have Done. Not so. The period of soldiers using soldiers to carry bad law is over. The period of using police to carry bad law is over. The period of using our boys to hijack material is over. because it is now. What have you done for us?
Before the flag of exercise, a contract agreement for this project was signed between the Rivers State Government and Julius Berger Nigeria Limited at the Executive Council chambers of the Government House in Port Harcourt, the state capital.
To some company news, MTN Nigeria has officially celebrated the group-wide brand refresh after announcing its brand repositioning, articulating the context behind the new logo many had seen since February 16, 2022. Speaking during the official unveiling in Lagos, MTN Nigeria's Chief Marketing Officer Adia Soho emphasized the company's commitment to building digital platforms that drive Africa's progress.
Memorable moments in life.
Gathered in this room are celebrities, well-established opinion leaders across relevant industries, media stakeholders, and high-value customers, joined by members of MTN Nigeria's leadership team, all set to witness a rebirth of another transition to another journey. MTN Nigeria's marketing manager says a new look is being ushered with the new brand to match the company's Ambition 2025, which is aimed at leading digital platforms for Africa's progress.
Become the leading provider of digital solutions for Africa's progress. To do that, though, we needed a new look, which we're ushering with the new brand today. Our new brand reflects our new reality as a digital citizen, right? We're open to change, we're young at heart, we're dynamic, we are progressive. We remain an inclusive brand for young, for old, for city dwellers, as well as people that live in the countryside. We present the new face of MTN.
The unveiling signals the dawn of a new era, but what will be different henceforth?
We've made the logo simpler, minimalistic, remove the red, remove the blue, remove the box. We were looking for agility and flexibility to better capture who MTN is as a technology company in the digital age.
As we continue to, go into the digital era, to technology era, the fintechs, we need to start to speak to the youths, to the millennials and the Gen Zs, like they call them. Simplicity is the word. We need to, make it simple and fit into the new digital ecosystem that, of course, the world is moving into.
If you listen to the local lingo, no matter what happens, somebody says we move. And this is really what progress stands for, because you have to fail forward. You don't need to look back and start regretting. So pick up yourself, move on, and that is also why the message of today is, what are we doing today? What are we doing today? We move, because you don't need to look backward.
With work done comes play, and rising Nigerian music star, Aya Star, thrills the crowd to a beautiful rendition of some of her hit songs.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, OPEC Secretary General says a delicate balancing act is needed to ensure affordable energy and reduce carbon emission. That's on Business News. Join us again.
But now may be a good time to add some great pieces to your space for less, as LifeMade Furniture announces its hot sales and pre-sale promo for 2022 with massive discounts on select items. The offers were launched at a press conference to announce the company's 2022 business strategy. Well, LifeMade says it is offering a wide range of home furnishing products at the lowest price nationwide.
An array of indoor and outdoor furniture, lighting and furnishing in this showroom suggests quality, durability and aesthetics to transform a house into a home or bring productivity to an office area. The goods are produced by LifeMate, a leading dealer in furniture, kitchen cabinets, sanitary wares, lightings and building materials, and the company is seeking more ways to deliver on its services to customers, this time at discounted prices with the launch of 2 new business strategies, hot sales and pre-sales mode.
We select some very popular products in the market
and give very good discounts to appreciate our customers. So through the nationwide lowest price guarantee of wholesale products, more consumers in the country who need them can live with LifeMate and become to our loyal customers.
LifeMate, thank you very much, sir. Please, let's take pictures.
The new offers are expected to improve user experience and loyalty, and the showroom manager explains how customers can go about it.
The hot sales mode is instant discounts. These prices have been discounted. So once a customer makes payments, then you can pick up immediately. Let's say you come into the showroom and you want to enjoy this pre-sales mode. So if you're keeping your product for 20 days, you get 5% discounts, irrespective of whatever discounts or promo we are having in the showroom. And if you're doing for 30 to 45 days, you get 7% discount. So the next one is 12% and 15%. So the higher days you keep, then the higher discounts you get.
But that's not all. The company says there is more in the works.
We'll be inviting the members of the public, we'll be inviting our customers, we'll be inviting the members of the press, to come around us and open some new showrooms with us. Apart from that, the factory at Mowe, like I said, is still work in progress. It's still work in progress because there are so many other things, other features that are going to be added in few days to come.
The newly launched offers, which started in February 2022, is expected to keep running across existing showrooms in Lagos, Abuja, Ibadan, Port Harcourt and Warri in Delta State.
Winners have emerged in Season 8 of the Cousins Baby Moments competition. Well, the final stage of the contest in Lagos had 10 finalists from across the country in attendance. The organizers say this edition raised the bar to include babies up to 36 months, all in a bid to celebrate the talent of the little champs, even as toddlers.
From across Nigeria, these little champs converge on Lagos, 10 of them for the grand finale of the Cousins Baby Moments competition. It's the 8th edition, and from the over 6,000 participants nationwide, these finalists are slugging it out to determine the overall winners. One by one, each child makes appearance, everyone showcasing his or her uniqueness. Parents too are not left out of the fun. And after all is said and done, the judges are ready for the results.
The winner and the little champ of the year, ladies and gentlemen, Isabella Uswakowa!
The outcome of this contest notwithstanding, the company insists every child is a winner.
Our consumers have just been awesome. We had loads of participation rate, way over 6,000 participants. Also this season, we're able to showcase the kind of talent we have in Nigeria at a very tender age.
The organizers want babies and parents to look forward to more in the coming years.
We just went out there, did the competition, and picked the 10 best for the final. And guess what? We had the most diverse representation across. And I think it lays a testament to what we stand for as a company and what this brand stands for. Cousins Baby is a product for every Nigerian.
Some of the parents say it's more than the prize winning for them, but much more, the bonding and excitement in the process.
And we're very grateful to Cousins for making it possible for us to be here today and to win this prize. And like he said, this is going to shoot our babies, modeling career. It's a very good start for her.
In fact, it extended beyond just us to our extended families. All my siblings and all her siblings, we were all together doing this, and and even friends that we have not spoken for a long time, we had to contact them because we wanted everybody involved.
With the lookout for bonding and nurturing moments in this season competition, PZ Cousins says it has again demonstrated its promise of making families grow together naturally.
Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has applauded the Bua Group for bridging the gap in the cement industry in Nigeria. He received the delegation from Bua Group led by its chairman, Abdul Samad Rabiu, at the State House, Abuja. Well, thanking the President for his continued support, Mr. Rabiu said BUA Group is currently building more factories in 2 different parts of the country, which will contribute about 6 million additional tons of cement and promote industrialization in the country.
Our most sincere thanks and appreciation to you for the honor accorded us recently when you visited Sokoto to commission our cement plant, the BUA Cement Sokoto Line 4. Your Excellency, sir, despite your highly busy schedule, you were committed to being there at the commissioning. Your presence also sent a strong message of your commitment to the industrialization of our dear country. Not only that, your remarks during the event also struck true, relating to the urgent need to make certain commodities produced in Nigeria accessible, affordable, and available for all.
I congratulate you for proving to us Nigerians that it's not only Dogon Turanchi that matters. Yes, there's one productive angle which God has given to all Nigerians. So I thank you very much for coming. I'm very pleased with this visit. I thank you very much. I wish you much more success, and I'm pleased that you have employed people across Nigeria.
A return to the courts. The Supreme Court has fixed May the 27th for judgment in a 6 billion naira defamation suit filed by a former governor of Rivers State, Peter Odili, against a former Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Dakuko Peticide. Leading a 5-man panel, Justice Olukayode Ariola fixed a date after taking final arguments in the suit. Dr. Odili had in October 2016 taken Mr. Peticide to court, demanding 6 billion naira as damages for character defamation. Meanwhile, the Apex Court will also on May the 27th deliver judgment in a suit filed by former Governor of Rivers State and Transport Minister Rotimi Amechi, seeking to stop his probe in an alleged 96 billion naira fraud and alleged fraudulent sales of valued assets belonging to Rivers State. At this time, leading a 7-man panel, Justice Olukayode Ariola announced a judgment date after listening to arguments in the suit. Amechi is praying the Apex Court to prohibit Governor Nyesom Wike from investigating his 8-year tenure as executive governor of the state. We now switch gears for some business stories. Here's Anne Wilder.
Thanks a lot, Coyote. Hello and welcome to Business News. The oil industry is under siege, and that's according to the OPEC Secretary General, Mohammed Barkindo, during his opening remarks at the 5th Nigeria International Energy Summit going on in Abuja, the nation's capital. According to him, climate activists have seized the momentum and are dictating the terms and pace of the energy transition. Our energy correspondent, Olu Phillips, brings us the details.
From International Petroleum Summit, it used to be known, to International Energy Summit, Nigeria's government is hosting the world's to arguably Africa's largest forum for the oil and gas sector. With post-COVID and increased climate change advocacy, fossil fuels and hydrocarbon production started to take a hit, with consequences of reduced funding, call for transition to renewable energy and other fuels. At this conference, and very early of the 4-day meeting, many hydrocarbon resource-rich countries beg to slightly differ on the conversation about the future of oil use. The Group Managing Director and CEO NNPC Limited provoked thoughts around energy transition, justice, and the implication of rising demand that are capable of causing social chaos if it's not met with supply.
Transition must have sanity, and there must be justice in transmission, energy transition. And that justice means that help us to get to a point where we're able to transport our ordinary people from their homes to their workplaces in the short term, and ultimately also assist us in making sure that we have the most friendly fuel that is put in place in the next 5 to 10 years, and ultimately as we also build our ability to put the renewables on the table, and even that we can't do without financing, and we also know that there's shortage of finance in this respect.
With global demand rising and crude at over $100 to the barrel, last seen since 2014, OPEC Secretary General speaks to the numbers and the implications of a sustained attack on hydrocarbon resource.
The investment requirements clearly underline that any talk of the oil and gas industries being consigned to the past and of the need to halt new investments in oil and gas is misguided.
Nigeria will simply continue to develop its gas resource as a transition fuel, which is considered clean also. And that's the position of President Muhammadu Buhari, who is here represented by the Minister of State.
At the heart of this administration is a vision to drive infrastructure and industrial development of the country in order to prosper her citizens and make life more meaningful to all. Natural gas ticks all the boxes as a vehicle to help government achieve the aspiration.
Rounding the day off the international panel session, Africa's ministers of oil are unanimous on balancing energy security with environmental sustainability through clean energy mix on the back of technology as the transition fuel, clearly announcing Africa's voice on what works amidst global debate. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
And now to the equities market, where stocks closed higher in the first trading day of the week. Laddie Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the first trading session of the week and the last trading day of the month of February ended in the green. The NGX added 36 billion naira today, with the all-share index up 0.14%. The all-share index broke the second resistance of 47,392 points to hit 47,394 points. The activity chart is all green. We see volume, value, and deals all up 18, 2, and 27% respectively. Let's take a look at the sectors there. We see consumer goods was active, up 0.29%. We see stocks like UACN, International Breweries adding to gains seen on that counter. Also in positive territory is the banking sector, which gained 0.55%. We have Zenith Bank also adding about 15 kobo to its share price. The oil and gas sector was in the red today, with Owando losing about 7 kobo. Top trades by volume, we see FCMB, Transcorp, and Zenith Bank. Trio added about 700 million in volume in today's trade, leaving investors positive to end the month of February. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
Thanks for watching Business News. I'm Anne Mwawadu. It's back to you, Coyote.
Thanks, Anne. Coming up next on the news at 10, Ukrainian president signs an official request for his country to join the European Union immediately. And more on international news from our London studio. Stay with us. Well, there's a lot to catch up on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Here's Simon Pusey.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The mayor of Bucha, a small town in Oblast, addressing local residents. Behind him, what looks like total Armageddon, the charred and smoking remains of military vehicles. Russian forces have made progress in Ukraine over the weekend, here raising the Russian flag in the Luhansk region. But for Putin, the invasion is not going as well as expected. This footage appearing to show Ukrainian forces destroying a Russian missile system. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says over 4,500 Russian troops have been killed. Leave your weaponry and leave. Do not believe your commanders. Do not believe your propagandists, but simply save your lives. Leave, he says.
Defend our city, defend our homes.
The former boxing champion and mayor of Kyiv, Vitaly Klitschko, has a similar message.
What you would tell to Russians?
Go back home. You have nothing to find here.
And despite heavy shelling over the weekend, Ukraine's people seem to be more determined than ever. Here, a brewery in Lviv has switched from making beer to producing Molotov cocktail bombs. After a weekend spent sheltering, Ukrainians saw the light for the first time, and many were upbeat.
I spent 2 days in metro station. Well, people are trying to support each other. People are very trying to be positive, trying to help. Now I feel very good because it's I finally see the sun. Now I feel very good.
Others continue to flee the fighting, with thousands in queues trying to reach Poland. Others are choosing to flee to Romania or here in Hungary.
That's very nice. Because most people have left the city, and if you're quite there alone, it's going to be hard to communicate with people and also get things like I said, resources and all of that.
And a place to sleep.
And a place to sleep, especially.
People haven't slept in days.
Yeah, people haven't slept. And most people go to the underground metros, the metro station, to stay there, and it is very cold, uncomfortable, and it's really not a nice place to be in at night. It is very.
Emotional scenes as friends and relatives finally meet in safety. An example of the horrors of what they've just left.
In
Russia, President Putin has ordered his military command to put their defense forces, including nuclear arms, on high alert. However, sanctions have led the value of Russia's currency, the ruble, plunging by as much as 40% against the US dollar. It's meant long queues for people in Moscow trying to withdraw cash. Today, delegations from the two countries have met in Belarus to discuss a ceasefire and the withdrawal of Russian forces. Meanwhile, protests in Russia continue. Yesterday, police detaining more than 900 people as anti-war demonstrations took place in 44 Russian cities.
I will today propose to use the European...
Western countries continue to step up sanctions against the Russian government. The European Union will ban Russian media outlets, Russia Today and Sputnik, from broadcasting in the bloc. Josep Borrell said they were spreading lies about the situation in Ukraine.
Registered and Russian-controlled aircraft.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also said the EU was closing the bloc's airspace to Russian flights. The ban will prohibit all Russian flights from landing, taking off or flying over EU airspace. Japan has also joined NATO allies in the exclusion of Russia from the SWIFT payment system. And anti-war protests are continuing around the world. Hundreds of demonstrators gathering outside Israel's parliament in Jerusalem, calling Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett to take action. Thousands took to the streets of Toronto as well. A show of support from around the world as people try to tell Ukraine they are not alone.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
And now to sport. Russia has been expelled from the 2022 World Cup and its team suspended from all international football competition until further notice after its invasion of Ukraine. FIFA announced in a joint statement with UEFA earlier today. The men's team had been due to play in qualifying playoff in March for the World Cup in Qatar later this year, while its women's side had qualified for the European Championship in England to be held in July. That's it on sport. I'm Chris Alems. Back to you, Kaide.
Well, thanks a lot, Chris. And the main news again. The federal government today said the evacuation of stranded Nigerians in Ukraine will begin on Wednesday, March the 2nd, just as fresh fighting forced residents of Kyiv back into shelters. And that's the news at 10 for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Kaide Okikilu. Good night.